Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge. It's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. Here we go. We're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, everybody? Joe Everest, the fence expert, coming to you live from FenceTech 2025, hosted by the American Fence Association. Now, usually, if you guys have been watching these, I shout out the American Fence Association for putting on a great show and hosting us here. But we've got the man, or one of the men, and ladies, we got a head honcho of AFA. I don't know how I would describe this, but Michael Reed. Michael, let's do this. For the 2 or 3 people out there that may not know you, maybe a brief introduction.
So I'm Michael Reed. I'm the executive director of the American Fence Association, and you're very generous about being the man. I think the truth about this event is that what you recognize is really how insignificant you are in the whole process.
Yeah.
So when I come on site, I'm really pointed and said, you go here and you go here, shake this hand. So there's a big team of both volunteers and staff people who put this on. And we could not do this event if we didn't have the vision and the foresight of what's called our FenceTech committee. So they work all year round. In this case, this last year was headed by past President Sam Williams.
Yeah.
And he had a vision of what this might be in terms of coming to the West Coast and Salt Lake City and running this out here. And his vision of what this FenceTech could be really sparked what turned out today. And it was outstanding.
Well, absolutely. And I should have said head honcho, because you're right, it takes a team, right? So, before we get into FenceTech, this was going to be a FenceTech wrap up, but I had a spark in my brain.
Sure.
So executive director, but there's also a board of directors, a president, vice president, secretary.
Let's take 30 seconds to talk about how AFA works.
Yes.
So the American Fence Association, for folks that don't know, is a volunteer-run organization.
Yeah.
So the leaders of AFA are all elected by the members to serve on a board, and that board hires an executive director, and that's me, and then the staff works with me to execute our education program, to execute a government relations program, all on behalf of our members.
Yeah.
And so our members are made up of both contractors and the suppliers. And that's really unique in the association community, because sometimes you have an association that's just made up of manufacturers, or an association that's just made up of contractors. In our case, it's all together. And the vision for the American Fence Association is we make the industry grow.
Yeah.
We help make the industry grow.
Push it forward.
And we do that through FenceTech. We do that through professional development. We do that through our credentialing and education programs. And that's how ultimately we all work together to help the industry grow.
Absolutely. And let's also talk about the board, because you said it's a mix. And it's important to note that the board is a mix.
The board is a mix of contractors and suppliers, yes.
Yeah. Contractors, suppliers, manufacturers are on the board as well. So it's, when you look at it, it's a really nice cross-section of the industry.
It is.
Which, if we're talking about an industry association, really should be a cross-section of it, to make sure everyone's represented. Literally everyone has a seat at the table.
It doesn't, but that table is only part of it. So the board ultimately makes the decision and sets the direction of the organization, but the work gets done in committees. And so we have an industry research committee, for example. We have a credentialing committee. So there's lots of ways to get involved and creating an impact in the industry. And that's what's unique in the fence industry, is that there is a one-stop shop with no matter what you're interested in the organization, government relations or education or credentialing or teaching and sharing your expertise. That's what you can get when you get involved in AFA.
Yeah. And so we're probably coming up with, there's going to be a period of time where it's a willingness to serve, where you can kind of step forward. Is that period, where is that period?
Well, we've kind of changed it. There was a period of time where you can send, now anytime you raise your hand,
okay,
we may not make the decision to make any changes.
Sure.
But we can always add people to a committee. We can always add people to a task force.
I love it.
So anytime somebody raises their hand, our goal, quite honestly, our goal is to be sticky.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to create impact in the industry and they want to make a difference and they feel that they have something to contribute, we're going to find a place for those folks to contribute.
I love it. And I feel like I've heard kind of side conversations. It's also a way to, if you feel like maybe something's missing, to bring it to the association and say, hey, I think you guys are missing out on this, and I'd like to make sure that it gets picked up on.
Well, thanks for the softball. Appreciate it. So one of the things that happened last year is Brian Butte from the Gulf South chapter president down there, is a Navy veteran. And he said, you know what's really powerful is that this experience helped me, the industry helped me as a veteran coming out of the Navy. This gave me a purpose, a place. And that he's heard that story over and over with other members. And so it didn't exist. Yeah. So Brian said, let's create the Veterans in Fence Special Interest Group. And out of that, really, that served as the backdrop for this particular FenceTech.
Yeah.
Is that commitment to our country and being prideful in who we are as a nation and who we are as an industry. And that ran through our keynote speaker. It ran through all of the different, that backdrop, that Veterans in Fence backdrop has had tremendous impact in the culture. Even when we meet people who served and we're bringing them into the industry, giving them a challenge coin and telling them welcome to the industry and we really appreciate you being here. That's all created by one person's vision.
Yeah.
Very similar to the way of Sam's vision of what this was going to look like.
Sure.
This FenceTech. Brian had a vision for making a significant contribution to the industry through that Veterans in Defense program, and he was able to do that. And there are just story after story after story of people getting involved and making a difference.
Absolutely. And it's someone stepping up and saying, hey, I think you're missing the ball on this. I'd like to make a difference.
Yeah.
And just stepping forward. That's really the most important step. Is that first one is saying, here's something I think you're missing and here's how I think it could be fixed. Or addressed.
And the funny thing is we started talking about this event and why people, even though we're talking about great numbers who've registered and are coming to this event, the reality is there's thousands of people who don't come to a FenceTech.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so as we start thinking forward, those people that are listening to this and thinking, man, I feel like I missed out. You did, but this is such a wonderful place that the next time that there's an opportunity,
right,
you come in and you get engaged, and don't be shy, and you will find a place within the organization.
Absolutely. And just because you missed this year doesn't mean you're behind in any way.
No.
Right. So there's going to be chapter level events, region level events. There's going to be obviously another FenceTech coming up, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Sure.
But there's always ways to get involved. Yeah. There's regional chapters that you can get involved with. Like I'm involved in, I used to say arguably the best chapter, but we found out yesterday the best chapter in the United States is the Midwest chapter of the AFA.
Congratulations on that. Your chapter excelled. And I always used to, when you would say arguably the best, always toss it back.
I know.
Now the other chapters really are gunning for you.
Hey, well, that's
good. The Texas chapter is,
Well, Indy chapter is
the Kentucky chapter at
Gulf Coast.
There's going to be a serious competition. And that is one of the wonderful things about the culture of our industry is that there is this idea of friendly competition.
Yeah.
Is such a powerful part of who we are as an industry,
right.
And making that friendly competition, making everybody better.
Well, and let's talk about the competition. So I know we're going everywhere but FenceTech right now, but the competition involves education, involves service hours, involves regular meetings. So it's a competition, yes, but it's also a competition that's pushing that region forward.
So in big things, AFA is really good at big things. So we create the framework, we create the structure, but the reality is where the magic happens is at the local level. Because you're the ones that are touching, the masses. You're the one that are touching members. And you're right, not everybody can come to this event. Not everybody is going to have the budget to do.
Yeah.
But the reality is everybody can make a chapter meeting.
Yes.
Or everybody can go to a virtual special interest group meeting, or everybody can get involved in a committee that most of their work is done in a virtual framework, and then they come and do work in person.
Sure.
But that's the thing about being sticky is that you all at the chapter level help make AFA sticky to all of the members. And I always say, hey, look, it's great for you to be involved at the national level.
Sure.
But get involved at your local chapter, and that's going to be when you need something from one of your other chapter members, or if you're short on material or if you're short on how to do something, you're going to be able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody who's familiar with your situation and can help you immediately.
Absolutely. And there's a camaraderie there because you're all in the same geographical area. It's really good. And like there is the competition, but it's friendly competition between and it pushes us all to be better.
Yeah.
So it's a great, the CHIP program's a great program because it definitely incentivizes positive influence in the industry.
Yeah, and just so we're not over talking, buddy, the CHIP program. The CHIP program is the way that we incentivize the chapter incentive program. We incentivize chapter, and what drives ultimately that chapter of the year program.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of a scoring metric. Yeah, absolutely.
But it allows us as AFA to say, okay, we're going to focus on chapter activities.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on the support of your local community. We're going to support how much education you do for your members at the local level.
No.
And it's just a way for us as an organization to provide more value to the people who choose to be part of AFA.
Absolutely. Well, talking about choosing to be part of AFA, in the award ceremony, you recognize two, not new chapters, but two chapters that are re-flourishing.
We did.
So it's
both the Michigan chapter and the Georgia chapter.
Absolutely. So there's regions everywhere that you can get plugged into. If there hasn't been a chapter there in the past, that doesn't mean there isn't a chapter there today. And if there's not a chapter there today, that doesn't mean that there won't be a chapter there tomorrow.
We've got two on the horizon in the DMV area, in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and then also in Arizona and New Mexico. So those folks have already started the formation process, the talking process, and then we'll mostly have the map covered. And
great.
And if we don't have the map covered in your area, then reach out.
Yeah, help cover it.
So yeah.
And let's talk about also that the willingness to serve isn't a gigantic time commitment, right? And I say that because that was my perception at first was I had been asked to serve on our regional chapter board. Yeah. And I was like, I'd love to, but I don't want to overcommit myself. I don't want to commit to this and not be able to follow through. And I just need to be cognizant of that I just don't have a ton of time. And I said, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you come to a few board meetings, and they were virtual. Why don't you come to a few board meetings, be a fly on the wall, see what it is. We'll talk it through and just see if it feels right. Well, it's an hour a month of board meetings, and there's some subcommittees, right? So, hey, let's get on let's figure out what we're doing for education, let's figure out what we're doing for service. But even those are an hour a month, something like that. So if you've got a couple hours a month free, you can have an impact on your local chapter for sure.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to mislead anybody.
Sure.
I think there are volunteer roles in this organization that do take a ton of time.
Yes.
But I think that if somebody is realistic about how much time they have to offer, then you can be honest and upfront about, hey, look, I only have a couple hours a month. All right.
That's a great point.
And then we can find the right job for you so that you can continue to grow as a leader, to grow as somebody who wants to be part of something bigger than themselves or bigger than their company, but not so busy that all of a sudden your weekends are gone. And there are volunteer roles in the organization. Our board works very hard.
Sure.
I was
getting ready to say, I bet Sam Williams would beg to differ on 2 hours a month.
Yeah, exactly.
So I say that to say there's a wide range.
Well, and I think what you do is you start small. You start with one commitment and you dip your toe in the water and you see if it's good for you. And I think what we've done a much better job at now is matching people's interest to their volunteer roles. Yeah. So if you are interested in sharing your expertise, well, we have ways for you to participate in that volunteer experience, instructing or helping build curriculum. If you're interested in, we use this example at the top of the show, but if you work for a major manufacturer and your responsibility you're suddenly responsible for government relations and industry standards, well, guess what? We have a committee that's working on that.
Yeah.
So I think that this idea of share as much time as you have, works in our benefit because this is a little bit like a disease. You get bit, you bit a little bit, and then you grow into whatever you allow it to be, but you always feel that warmth.
Well, and I think you feel the warmth because you feel the impact you have.
Exactly.
I think for me personally, that's what I connect with, is just the impact that even having a few hours a month has an impact. It leads to a greater good.
So Joe, think about 2 years ago when we started the Gate Safety Initiative.
Yeah.
We started talking about gate safety and we partnered with the Hummingbird Alliance, and those early conversations that you and I had, there were people 20 years ago that were talking about automated gate safety, but then we started to move it into the manual gate realm.
Yeah.
And people came out of the woodwork and said, I'm greatly moved by the story of the Quambex.
Yeah.
And I want to do something at the local level, or I want to do something that I think that's the type of thing it's just a matter, and it goes back to something you said at the very beginning, is if you think and you're passionate about something and you want to make a difference, we now have a platform that we can put that and enact that and make that happen.
Absolutely. And if you're passionate about it, there's a place for you to have an impact.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, the original theme of this show is going to be FenceTech.
Let's get into it.
Since we're sitting here,
Let's get into it.
Final day, final hours of the show.
Still busy.
It's still that is a surprising part. Now, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So I showed up Monday mid-morning, setting the studio up and just making sure that we've got everything we need.
It looked a lot different Monday morning.
It looked a lot different, but it was organized. Chaos is not the word, but it's just organized movement. There's a lot of movement.
Organized chaos.
That's why I say chaos, but chaos sounds unorganized. It was, booths were already going up, crates were already here, everything was ready to go. This has got to be one of the best organized years that I've seen. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but it's been good.
That's interesting that you use that term, because that is one somebody said that this morning about how organized and efficient the entire event was.
Yes.
And they are chapter volunteers, so they had been involved in several different things.
Okay.
And so that's great feedback for us, is that the fact that it was smooth and organized, and I'm not going to say there weren't hiccups, they were, but as long as you all as members, those hiccups are either you don't see them because we fix them, or if you do say, hey, there was a hiccup here and we respond, great. It's no different than running your business. If there's a hiccup and you solve it, that's a great opportunity to demonstrate listening to your members.
Absolutely.
Listening to your customers.
Well, and it speaks to team.
Yep.
Right. It speaks to Jim and his team. So Jim runs what's Jim's title, I guess?
So Jim's responsibility is exhibits, the show floor, and sponsorships. So
exhibits, sponsorships. Got it. So this was really his team. Now his team networks with the expo team to just really get things going. But this vision probably started with Jim's team.
It starts before that.
Okay.
So think of them as they activate it.
Okay.
So I would say that ultimately the vision for this starts at the volunteer level, and they all get together and say, what if we did this? And then the professionals come in and say, well, what do you like about this idea?
Yeah.
And so it's an iterative process. It's this constantly changing process. And then we have a team that comes together. And so our team is relatively small. Mm-hmm. The AFA team is relatively small. And then all of a sudden for FenceTech gets a little bit bigger because it includes our meeting planning folks and some close to us, please. And then the week of the event, it just explodes, because then you're right. We have a partner who helps create the vision into a reality.
Yeah.
And we have people who are doing signage and directional signs.
Okay.
It's like a production, it's like you get ready for that production and you're talking all year about that production and you're practicing and you're playing and you're putting details in. And then the week of the production comes and the team explodes, and then that happens.
I tell you what, this happening is incredible. I mean, Jim had told us before, largest show floor, bigger than Nashville. And when I walked in the room, you could feel it.
Yeah.
It feels bigger. It was, well, the number I'd heard first was 15 booths more than Nashville, but then that number changed because a few more exhibitors showed up and said, hey, you got a few extra space?
Did.
And Jim was up to the task.
Jim was selling booths up until the time you all were setting up in here, and he was still selling.
Well, this is the epitome. This is
those folks don't get good booths though. At that point, those folks are getting on the fringe.
Yeah, kind of what's left over.
I don't know what's left over. So
yeah. But in pure Jim, there was such a Jim comment because he said, all right, we got one booth left. But we can make more. We can find like 2 or 3. We could like reorganize. We can find more if
he needed to.
That was such a Jim moment of one left, but we can find more. We can find more.
Yeah.
So well executed, this vision. I mean, the booths are organized. They're laid out really nicely. Nice big aisles that you got room to move. We've got behind us. You guys probably hear occasionally. We've got a game of bags going on, but there's a whole kind of a rest area here. It was called Park last year. It's called Beer Garden this year, where we've got food set up. We've got couches set up where you can relax. Bags are going on there as well.
So when the show floor is this big you actually need refreshments and soft chairs. Yeah, so people can rest their dogs and
Yeah. Well, I looked at yesterday. It's like 4.3 miles walked by the time the show was over.
Yeah.
So it's like you get some steps in. You get some steps in here because that's how big the show for. And you want to see everybody, right? You want to see all the booths.
I think what I love about this is somebody who comes out of the education realm. I kind of look at everything through an education or a learning lens.
Yeah.
And as I walk through the floor, it's like, what can I learn about this? What can I learn about? So I go booth to booth to booth, and things that as someone relatively new, several years now into the industry, I can walk into a booth and be just like a kid in a candy store, learning new things about the innovations that are happening on the floor. And that's what people are doing here. They're bringing their most innovative, creative ideas that you all can then use with your customers to grow your business.
Well, and we still see in 2025, we still see vendors bringing new products to debut at FenceTech.
Absolutely.
I talked to Nationwide Industries here in an interview yesterday, and they were unveiling a new latch, and we talked about that. And one of the questions was, why FenceTech? In today's day and age, with technology and with social media, why is FenceTech important? Because you see this so often, and their answer was because there's an additional component to this. We can do digital scans and 360 views, and we can make videos with it. But until you touch it and feel it and have that conversation, one with someone that's up to date with the sales knowledge of it, but then also someone that's involved with the technical knowledge. So if you got a technical question, can we get you those answers outside of FenceTech? Sure. But we can get you the answers right now at FenceTech.
I think that for a long time, as the digital marketing increased, everybody thought it was everybody was claiming it was the end of trade shows.
Sure. Yeah.
Not at all. I think you can't look at it as an either or. It's both.
They complement each other.
You have to have that digital piece because so many people are on their phones or at their computers. Mm-hmm. So you have to have that digital marketing piece. But the reality is that people love to, especially in our industry, people love to connect with one another.
Yeah.
And they do want to shake your hand, and they do want to see what the innovative products the suppliers are bringing to market.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of things where, you could have a really well done video, but until you put your hands and really turn it around and see where the hardware goes, the installation hardware goes, or see how the latch strikes, something clicks about that, just getting it in your hands. And that's why shows like this are important.
Yes. And then you also take some of the technology that's being integrated. So you've got changes in access control that's happening. Yeah. You've got changes in gate technology that's happening that literally, if you miss a year where you're not teaching it, you could miss a generational change in some of the stuff that we're doing, especially in the access control where it's changing so quickly.
And quickly and dramatically. Some of the changes it's not just a 1.1 to a 1.2 version. It could be a 2 to a 3. It could be a very dramatic change.
Yeah, I think, and maybe it's because I've fallen in love with the industry, but I think at the end of the day, if you can't come here and walk away with a dozen new ideas, or new ways to impact your business, you're just not trying very hard.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You probably didn't spend too long walking around.
Yeah.
Is because you would have seen all.
Or attending the education sessions.
Well, I want to back up in just a second, but I want to put a pin in there, or I want to add a comment to this. So, talking about technology, there's a lot of software platforms here.
There are.
And it seems like every year there's a new one, or there's just different versions of the same one. One thing I saw too, so I'm just using them as an example of somebody I saw, FenceCloud was also doing training while all of us were here. So if you use FenceCloud now, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they'll do training via Zoom or over the phone, but there's probably something a little bit different than in-person training as well, which kind of rolls us back into education. We jumped ahead of ourselves. I jumped ahead of myself a little bit here. The week actually started Monday with education.
So we do education on Monday in kind of a pre-conference workshop series.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to dig a little bit deeper. You're going to spend a little bit more time.
Sure.
It's not as much as a fire hose. You spend a lot more time. You spend a full day on one particular topic. In this case, it was the Gate Automation Design School, the Sales Training School, and the Leadership Academy. For Indianapolis, we'll switch it up and we'll add some additional stuff, including probably the Spanish language Gate Automation Design School.
Excellent.
I think the what happens in that pre-conference workshop is you're getting your hands dirty. And then Tuesday is really the main education day. So you come in and kind of drink from the fire hose where there's all sorts of sessions happening. It's really a challenge because you want to go to one session, but another session sounds really interesting.
Yep. One thing I thought that you guys did really well this year is you had paths, right? So at a glance, you could look at the educational calendar and know, okay, I'd really like to stick in this path. I'm really interested in this. Doesn't mean you have to. You could go to wherever you'd like, but it gave people maybe a clearer idea of, we think these educational courses all align with each other for something that covers this interest.
So when you look at that FenceTech brochure and you are considering the buying decision and the investment decision of coming to this, one of the reasons that our director of professional development, Nick, one of the reasons that Nick puts things into tracks is though that if you're trying to make a tough decision about who comes to FenceTech, who's going to benefit from that investment, you can easily and quickly say, well, does my foreman have training needs? And therefore, we're going to look at the education sessions that are in this installation track. Do my estimator or my salesperson need additional training? So we're going to look at those things in that sales track. Or, if are we looking at somebody from a company that's going to change from one generation to another? So we want to take and have somebody participate in a bunch of the leadership classes. So we're not talking about just how to manage the business, that we're talking about how to lead the business. So that's one of the reasons is that from an investment perspective, we want you to say, hey, geez, we need to send somebody down the estimator track. We need to send somebody down the installation track, and we need to send somebody down. So we want you all to have as much information as you can when you're looking to come or deciding to come to FenceTech.
Absolutely. So to start with education, tons of educational courses. Everyone I talked to that had gone through education loved it and got great value out of it. So
there are 43 choices this year.
It's a ton.
This is great.
So, and with the tracks, with the 43 different seminars, lots of education. There's something for everybody. Is the point?
Something for everybody.
Is if you looked at that educational calendar and didn't see something that interested you, you might be in the wrong field. You might have mistaken this for a different type of conference. I don't know, but if you're in the fencing industry, there was something there for you.
Yeah. So
we rolled from education into the Pickets and Peaks. Well, Pickets and Peaks was kind of in the middle of the education. I guess Tuesday night was Pickets and Peaks. Great turnout. There were a ton of people. Well, and also let's say, so in talking about, it was included with your show floor. And so if you got here, if you had your registration for a show floor, you got the show floor, the keynote, and the Pickets and Peaks. Pickets and Peaks was packed. It was a great time.
Again, I don't want to talk too much about this, but that FenceTech committee, led by Sam, said, let's do something really special for this event. And they had a vision for what what it would look like.
Sure.
What would the energy be in the room? And then our team just killed it. Our team just crushed it.
Well executed.
It was well executed. But I mean, that's how the association works. You all as members tell us what you want to see, and then we go about the work of making that vision a reality. And that night, the music was great.
Yep.
The promotion of that event got the right people in the room, and it had the right energy. And then at that point, at that early point I kind of began to set back and say, this is going to be a success.
It'll be a good year.
If people just went to education and they went to this party, they're going to walk away from this experience feeling pretty good about it. And the show floor hadn't even opened at that point.
No. And they had already received a ton of value.
They had already received a ton of value.
One thing I thought was a nice touch. So there was an inside and an outside. Well, there was a ballroom and a foyer.
Yep.
Right. So the ballroom had the DJ, the electric violin, which I thought was incredible, the drums. It was the loud room. If you were looking for a great time, and again, bags were set up, there's just all sorts of games set up. But also, if you wanted to have a conversation, you could just step right outside the doors into the foyer, have a great conversation as well. I thought that was well done.
Yeah. I there's nothing more. It actually left me speechless at the end of the night. Just from what the volunteers expected to have happen to the way the staff and received that information and worked with our team on site to make that happen. It just was incredible.
It was. Wednesday morning went into more education. So
A little bit of education, carryover education. There were some great sessions on that Wednesday morning.
Agreed. Then everyone went to the keynote. And when I say everyone went to the keynote, everybody was there. That room was full.
It was a packed
That
house.
room was full because if anybody, on this channel, we'd interviewed Van Morris, or if anyone had looked him up on his website, I think 5 seconds into any one of his videos, you were ready to go. Like, you just wanted to hear what he had to say. And Van Morris absolutely blew that crowd away.
So, Joe, in this experience, what we're trying to do is, there are 1,000 trade shows you could go to in a year. They're literally building materials, trade shows. There are sales trade shows. There's literally a million. But there's something special about our industry trade show that we take great pride in. And the keynote gives us an opportunity to evoke emotion. People are very passionate about our industry.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about what we do in terms of protecting and serving. And this keynote speaker by Van, it was the epitome of what we are as an industry. And he definitely knows how to evoke emotion. And that's what people responded to. He was mobbed after because he touched people in a certain way.
Well, here's the thing, and here's how I kind of gauged it. One, how I felt incredibly motivated and inspired. But as I'm looking around kind of up and down the aisle, there's no phones, there's no side conversations, there's no kind of like wandering. Everyone was locked into what he had to say. And I think that's the hallmark of just a truly great speaker that can connect, because that room was pretty diverse in terms of age, in terms of background, in terms of everything. It's a diverse room.
Yeah,
he had everybody.
It was a good mix of suppliers and contractors, large and small, old and new. It was, again, we talk about this being a cross section of our industry.
Yeah.
And everybody was on their feet and moved.
Yeah, he had everyone on the edge of the seat. He did. Let me also give kudos to Van Morris, because so afterwards he was here on the show floor at the Eastern booth for a while. And then he was also here the rest of the day, followed by the next day. And he spent a lot of time here.
So one of the other great contributors on that FenceTech committee, so that FenceTech committee is made up of the past president, and then the current president. And they kind of serve as that, because those are also the most, the people who have the most communication with members.
Sure.
Have the broadest, you talk about having 4 or 5 people on that committee.
Yeah.
They have a really good perspective on what's happening in the industry. And Van came to us by our past president, Bobby Batchelor, who was on your show with Van.
Yeah.
And, Bobby had a vision for that aspect of what that could be for. And I think, again, just like Sam was probably walking around going, yeah, this is exactly how I thought this should look.
Yeah.
And then Bobby walked away and said, yeah, that's what I thought it might look like. And I didn't have any idea it was going to catch fire and be like it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Just such a great guy, such a great message, and just willing to be here and connect with everybody. I saw him taking pictures all day that day. The next morning he was at the awards brunch and just loved connecting with people, having a great time. I give kudos to Van for really, really plugging in.
He also kind of got bit by the bug, and I think it was going to be gum on our shoe. I think he's going to be part of our industry as we move forward.
I think you're right. I don't think this is the last we've heard the name Van Morris.
It is not.
Absolutely. So speaking of the next morning, awards brunch, followed Thursday morning. And so we got to see a lot of great awards go out to a lot of great contractors, both for projects, both for pro awards. The big one, chapter of the year, Midwest chapter.
So I'm going to give it to you today and today only. You are the best chapter of the year, and nobody can dispute that.
We've got the trophy to prove it.
You got the trophy. You got the receipts.
But you know what? There's also service project awards that were really great. There were chapters stepping up in a lot of different ways. I mean, chapter of the year is one. I mean, I'm going to say it's the best one because we won it this year. But there are a lot of great chapter awards. There's chapters that are putting in tremendous effort in their local community, whether it be in service projects and education, that sort of thing.
Well, Joe, I mean, I can talk about the chapters all day. I think, so I've been on board 3 years now, and there are several things that I can look back and say, I'm proud that we did this. I'm proud that we are serving the members these ways. But I think that depending on what day it is, I'm most proud of the vision that Sam had when he was president several years ago, that our chapters were going to feel important again, and our chapter leaders were going to be supported. And I think that may be the thing that I'm most proud of. I'm proud of the other things that we've done in terms of the growth of FenceTech, in terms of our commitment to industry standards and to gate safety. I'm proud of all of those things. But I think what really drives the engagement message, or the you belong message, is that commitment to our chapters and those people who take time away from their businesses to engage their peers at the local level. It's just tremendous.
Yeah, like you said, we could talk about chapters all day, because I feel like that's where a tremendous amount of the value to the communities comes from.
Without a doubt.
They're doing great things. The awards brunch was very well done. We got to highlight a lot of those leaders.
So one of the things that I will tell you about for folks who don't experience that is that is where we recognize our chapters, but it's also where we take the moment to recognize those folks who have given years of service as individuals to the organization. And, Hall of Fame winner this year, Scott Meckes, has led our gate installation school for many years, contributed to the growth of that school and the revisions of the curriculum on several occasions. Just somebody, Scott Meckes from Dorking, just somebody who has made an impact over time to this industry, and, served on chapter boards, and served the curriculums committees, and served led these instructors to create the most unique and inspirational school that we have, is that gate installation school. And our gate operator installation school. I can't say enough about the men and women who volunteer so much time to the organization, and then to see them receive the accolades of their peers. It's not our staff that gives them that award. It's their peers that recognize them and what they feel, because they get recognized. First of all, our industry most of the time is humble. And so they are humbled by the recognition of their peers. But then the other thing that happens is then it sets in that, this is the highest award that this association gives one, sometimes two people a year, and it moves them. And that's what that emotionality is what we're after, because then somebody sitting in the audience says, you know what? I'm staying engaged. I'm staying involved. And so the cycle repeats itself.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to highlight the leaders that are having a strong impact, having a major impact on the industry. So from there, from the keynote, we came in, we had the opening ceremony, came in, FenceTech floor opened, awards brunch, we came back to the show floor. I tell you what, the show floor has been packed. It's been, what was the number? 5,355 badges or registrations.
So that number was smaller than we had in Nashville, because we had a lot of people drive in.
Sure.
This number outpaced expectations tremendously by the thousands. And the nice thing in talking to the exhibitors, they said, we were so packed in Nashville because people were standing around deep, This was just steady, steady, steady all the way through the entire time. I mean, we're looking around the show and there's still people.
There's still people in booths.
Still significant number of people walking through.
On Friday, midday on Friday, still people in booths. I heard the same thing from a couple of the vendors that I'd stopped and just chat with. How's the show? How you guys liking it? They said the same thing. They said, it's not shoulder to shoulder, but if it was shoulder to shoulder, we wouldn't have the people to talk to everybody.
And they'd have to rush through questions and answers. I think that they have been busy. At least the ones I've spoken to have been busy to the extent that they can truly engage potential customers.
Take time to answer questions, give product demonstrations, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the booths, so some of the booths bring 15, 20 people and you see them engaged. I mean, we're looking here. Let's talk about one particular booth right now that kind of stands out.
So let's set the stage.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're not here and you didn't visit this year, we're in Salt Lake City, which is the ski capital of the year, ski capital of the world. If you're an American.
Yep, absolutely. And kind of the overall theme has kind of been Snow Lodge.
Yeah. So our booth space here in the AFA booth is set up like a lodge. You have a nice fireplace and comfortable chairs.
Yep.
And when you look, I'll let you describe this is just amazing.
Master Halco has somehow deconstructed a snow lodge from somewhere and reconstructed it right in the middle of the show floor.
Absolutely. Along with bringing a mountain. They brought a mountain.
There's a Yeti in there. They were building this Monday when we got here mid-morning. And the framework, it's like, this is going to be huge. What is this going to turn into? A ski lodge.
So needless to say, we do a lot of recognition here, recognition of excellence and recognition of contributions and recognition of booth creativity. And needless to say, the Master Halco booth crushed it this year.
If there was a booth award, it would have to go to Master Halco.
It did go to them.
It did. Up. There we go.
So what's interesting is you and I, as we got ready for this conversation, said there's already talk on the floor.
Yeah, the road to Indy.
Yeah.
Road to Indy.
But there's already talk about that who's going to outdo.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, on the road to Indy, like how do you improve? Like what? Guys, we're looking at a ski lodge in the middle of a show floor. I don't know how you do better than that. How do you improve on that? I don't know.
We'll leave it up to them. And but I do hear from other exhibitors out there who have said that they're going to make an effort.
Yeah.
And they're going to outpace Master Halco. So I just say good luck.
They've got their sights on them.
They do.
But they've got a high bar to achieve here. But in talking about a large booth that was staffed by a ton of people, so from our perch up here, we can kind of see into other booths. They all stay busy all weekend or all week.
Yeah, like we're talking about the creativity of the Master Halco booth, but you look around and there are growing manufacturers who have their booth and are displaying their products. And
I talked to several that have been here for the first year. That we're just blown away by it.
I was surprised by the number of new marketing firms that we had in the space. So last year we did a big push around. We were hearing from our members that technology and these enterprise products, these products that would help manage your entire business, and so we featured them coming into FenceTech last year. Those were all here, but this year I saw a proliferation of marketing specific firms. So firms that were specifically set up to help you grow your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it looks like firms that do very well at it. That's the thing is software is definitely still a theme here. It's definitely still a theme, but it's interesting to see the year on year change in kind of that what's new theme. Marketing would be this year's, I think, advanced marketing. So absolutely. I tell you what, guys, if you weren't able to attend, put it on your calendar. Indianapolis next year. It's in early February. I'm going to be there. Mike will be there. I mean, I can't wait to see again, like the bar feels like it's set so high. I can't wait to see next year, see what gets achieved.
So, Joe, you and I started talking when I got here, and the FenceTech of that year was Oklahoma City, and people were pleasantly surprised. People, we had fully, as a country, fully come out of COVID.
That's right.
People were unsure about the event and unsure about Oklahoma City. And it was outstanding.
It was.
That spirit, that sense of the industry coming back together after an ordeal that we all endured was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we went to Nashville, and everybody loves Nashville. They love the theme. They love the nightlife.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge success. And a lot of people piled into trucks and came.
Sure.
And we had a huge registration number.
Yeah.
And then the people were scratching their head in Nashville and saying, how is Salt Lake going to beat that? And my sense of it is that this was on par with Nashville.
Agreed.
It was a different experience, but it was on par with Nashville.
It was.
And so the question is what we're going to do next. And I'm just going to say, stay tuned
Okay.
and budget appropriately.
You're going to want to be there.
Because Indy will beat this. I'm not sure how, but I have confidence in my team that we're going to make that happen.
I believe it. I just don't know what that will look like. I'm excited for it.
Well, just think, so February in Indianapolis, we're thinking race cars.
Yeah.
We're thinking football.
Well, sure. Absolutely.
So just stay tuned.
It'll be a fun year.
It's going to be a fun year.
Let's talk about what the roadmap looks a little bit beyond Indianapolis, just for like looking off into the future.
Sure.
Goes to Phoenix and then Orlando.
Correct.
Is that right? And then back to Salt Lake City in 29.
Correct.
I can't wait to be back. I mean, I can't wait to go elsewhere, but I also can't wait to be back. Just the first impression of Salt Lake City is the airport for those of us that fly in. Clean, organized. Everyone was so nice and happy to help. And that's been our experience here in Salt Lake City throughout the entire week.
It's a wonderful host city.
It is.
It is a wonderful host city. And I think some of the times people say, well, now I'm going to have to fly. I'm going to go east. Why would I do that? And I think when you feel the spirit of this community, you see how people are coming together. Sometimes it doesn't matter what city you're in.
Sure.
When that city rolls out the red carpet for you, like Salt Lake does.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why the Olympics come here. And then there's a reason why the Olympics are coming back.
Comes back.
It's because there are good people here who roll out the red carpet, who make us feel wanted to be here.
Yeah.
And then you plop an educational event and a trade show like FenceTech in there, and you just can't beat it.
No, you just can't. It's been a great week, both educationally, both in experience at FenceTech. There's a ton to do here as a city. You know, I know some guys went to the Jazz game. Me and some of the folks went to the hockey game last night, the Utah Hockey Club. It's been a good time at FenceTech. I don't want to make it sound like, we're venturing out, but there's also things to do in town and in the off hours.
So let me tell you, I do have an experience that exceeded expectations.
Okay.
So I had to protect time because I had a friend offer to take me to the Jazz game. And so we went to the Jazz Kings game, and it was great. And then I had to choose between the hockey game.
Yeah.
But I went to go see the Tabernacle Choir practice.
How was that?
Let me tell you something. I was blown away. And now it'll be the time that I saw the moment Tabernacle Choir practice. And what I realized being there is it's like watching a pro game. They're getting coached as the conductor is coaching them as it goes along. And he's saying, each of the different parts, he's having each of the parts. And I walked away from that experience. I was dead tired going in, and I walked away from that, feeling uplifted and feeling, it was not what I expected. And it was completely different, but it'll make me always remember this trip to Salt Lake
City. Well, I think that's also a good way of saying there's more than snow sports here. Now, there are a tremendous amount of snow sports. I think it's just this way. I mean, there's a ton to do, but there's a lot more to do than that too.
Absolutely.
So, well, we keep getting the time signal here, but that's what happens when we get around and talk fence. Cliff notes: FenceTech was amazing.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate you saying that. I know you and your family have been to many.
Yeah.
And, thank you.
Well organized, well laid out. vendors were happy. All the vendors I talked to were happy. All the members attending were happy. Just they both of those groups felt like they got tremendous value. So to the AFA in general, I would say bravo. I mean, job well done.
Thanks. And I would say on behalf of our board of directors and behalf of our FenceTech committee, thank you, Joe. Appreciate your support. And we're really happy to have you be a part of making our booth even more engaging.
Well, and that's so, guys, if you plan on coming next year, plan on stopping by the AFA booth, stop by, come see everybody here. We'll have like a little media thing set up again. Love to see you guys here. Yeah, I think we ought to wrap this thing up. I think we've said enough.
Good.
It was excellent. We'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Joe.
Guys, for now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, with Michael Reed.
Oh, I thought we were getting to the good friends make good marriage.
I know, I keep throwing stuff in here.
Good fences
Yeah, well, reminding you that good fences
make great neighbors.